And you know, those are a lot of the people that we have to deal with. And unfortunately, they're not committing any crimes, but they can't afford the rent. We talked about the pad sites. We have to deal with the homeless individuals are camping on public and private property, you know, school district property, flood district property. I have to constantly be in contact with those folks who work out.
Excuse me, officer. When you use an acronym for the first time, could you tell us what it is, please? Like, I don't know what PAD site is.
Pad site is a sleeping site.
Public action to deliver shelter.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I'm a cop. We use acronyms. You gotta get over that. I'm teasing. All right. So, and then I have here horizontal and vertical collaboration, and all that means is that I've got to make sure, and Anna's got to make sure that we're constantly talking and working with people. Next slide. So this is our point in time count that every city does. You notice in 2016 it was down to 99. That's incorrect. That was the year that HUD gave us these weird restrictions on how and when we could count, and so we couldn't really capture everybody where they were. So what's important for you to understand is that when you see that number, it's really about 3 to 4 times that number. That doesn't mean 3 to 4 times the amount of people that we're dealing in the enforcement end of it. It just means that that's how big your population is out there. And I would say, and I know in our town, I would say only probably about 50 of those people have constant contact with the police department. Most of the population does not have any negative interaction with the police department at all. Next slide. So I'm running out of time, so let me move through this real quick, just to run through a few things. So who's in your homeless population? You got your chronic homeless, and that's in your HUD definitions if you want to look it up. It's defined as homeless for 1 year or individual that has had at least 4 episodes of homelessness in the past 3 years. You got your episodic, which are people that had a life-changing moment. They lost their job, they were living with their parents, and their parents passed away and now they're displaced, whatever it may be. You've got your traveling homeless. You obviously have people that are drug addicts or substance abusers, veterans, medically ill, medical fragile, deliberate, indifferent families, and financial. So I'll break this down a little more real quick. Your have-nots are people that lost their jobs, lost their residence in the foreclosure, or some examples. That category does include families, normally don't get contacted by our officers, and they're receptive to case management. They want the help. So because they want the help, it's easy for us to try to work with them to get them up on their feet. Next slide. And then you got your cannons, you're mentally ill. I keep stressing mentally ill because you need to get that through. And you got a lot of people that are mentally ill out there. You're physically disabled, you're developmentally disabled, whether they be diagnosed or a lot of them that are not diagnosed. Or some of them are polys. They have both those issues, right? You're underage and you're runaways. That's part of your population. And then you got your parolees, your sexual registrants, and your arson registrants. That sometimes are some unique situations that you got to deal with because they can't be certain places. So even if you had a site, they may not be allowed to go to that site. People with animals and pets, because again, a lot of those are comfort pets. There's a psychological attachment. They can't leave the pets. And then there's very few services out there for your undocumented workers and your illegal immigrants. Okay? On the other side, your will nots, you got your lifestyle and your free spirit people. I like being homeless. We stole this land from the Indians anyway, because I've heard all that. I've heard it, okay? And maybe we did or maybe we didn't, but ultimately, you know, I have to try to work through that. And you have to remember, if we have a feeding site, we have a place for you to sleep, and you're not going over to Betty to get on case management, and then every time you drive through and you start handing money out your window, you are not helping the problem. Because we want that money and we want that support because we want to help people, but we want it going through the Samaritan Center in our city. We don't want people handing money out their window. It does not solve a problem for you to take your kids and bring out a platter of enchiladas and bring out money and give things away in that manner rather than having them go through case management, and so we can try to start helping them move forward. You got system distrust. We talked about case resistive, and then we have, we just have people that don't want to part with their animals, which is, sorry. You have one group that they cannot because of mental health, and then other people that just won't, they won't part with their animals so that they can't be put into housing. On the will nots, and I'm going to go back to, again, people that are undiagnosed or not tracked through behavioral health or your developmental disability center. A lot of people, you talk to them and they tell you that they're not on medication, they haven't seen a therapist, but the longer you talk to them and the more you engage them, you can tell something cognitively is going wrong. And that's why, I would say to, when I teach this in Ventura County, make sure you pick the right cops to work this caseload. Pick the right cops to work the caseload and everything, because my officers will put people in their car and take them to their mental health appointment, and that's not traditional police work. So some of the special programs that we have in Ventura County, we have a homeless court, I believe it's run in LA County too. And that's obviously where on the low grade infractions and misdemeanors, they can work those charges off. Trespassing, drinking, alcohol in public. Try to get them to transition back into productive lives. Kind of builds trust with the justice system because the justice system is trying to help them. And obviously for us to reduce court and jail costs. We don't have the kind of jail and court costs you guys have in LA County and Ventura County, but that also is an issue for us. So how do I measure success? I think when we first started to try to measure success, we would try to measure it if we got someone housed. And I say we, a lot of this goes to what Betty does. But I don't really necessarily judge it on that anymore. If we started engaging somebody and we were able to convince them to go over and see the people at the Samaritan Center, and now they're getting general relief, now they're on medication, now they're medication compliant, which helps them to function, and they have a driver's license, then I have to consider that some success because they're better off since we engaged them than they were not being engaged. So there's different levels of that. Obviously, what we like to get is sober, housed, reunified with family and loved ones, as independent as possible, and we want to eliminate the frequent police contact or the contact between our medics or Simi Valley Hospital or some of the other services by kind of getting them up and running. Okay, I talked about partial success. So where we are now, like I told you, we have about 50 to 55 people that we routinely contact. And we've evaded a lot of campsites. I've got over here a quote, it's all about hand up approach. We're trying to give everybody a hand up. We're not trying to give handouts. Hand up, and you gotta get that mindset. And then we're working on our case management to do a little better tracking of who are our chronic or critical homeless people that need the most help. Here's the obstacles again. I want you to think about misguided charitable giving. It maintains the comfort level of people living on the street, which is why we don't like people to do that. It encourages panhandling. And what we have to do as when we're working from a multidisciplinary mindset is that we got to coordinate resources. The other thing on the bottom is failure to maintain clean public and private locations, routine maintenance. That money that I get to be able to, and I'm very stingy with the money. If I run into a special district or another entity that has money, I make them clean their stuff up before I use our taxpayers' money. But in the situations where I don't have a choice, then I have some money that I can work with. I ran through that as fast as I can, Mike. I'm sorry, I could be up here for another hour. But just to give you just kind of an overview on how we've approached it, it's not the only way, but it's certainly working for us. But we also think we can do a lot better. We were talking about that, Betty and I were talking about that earlier. It's not, homelessness and mental health is not, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You can't get frustrated and you gotta kind of work through that.
So it's the same thing, addressing the homeless problem is you have to look at long-term solutions, because we do measure success, and sometimes I tell people, it's like baby steps, and I have learned to measure success not so much as in numbers as traditionally we do in law enforcement. I measure success in if I get a mental health patient who I know should be in case management and they're medication resistant and service resistant, but I get them at least assessed and on medication, I see that as success. And it's a long term, they stay on my caseload for a really long time. There are no short, simple solutions for the homeless problem. They're all long term. When we traditionally in law enforcement look at problems, we're looking at small problems, and my sergeant likes to point out we're never going to arrest our way out of our problem. And that's really a non-traditional police way of looking at problems. When people come to me and tell me there's a homeless problem, I already know we're looking at something that's going to be a long, protracted situation unless somehow magically that one homeless person is going to say, you're right, I'm going to go to mental health today, and I never see them again. That's rare. I've never seen that. So there are solutions out there, but they're long-term. And we are long-term invested in our programs.
Okay. Thank you. Let's give it
I'll just add something to, sorry, did you?
No.
Our key sources department is working, task force on homelessness itself is in a transition because over time the city has changed and the political climate has changed as well.
Hard
We're
to
working
hear.
more closely with Can you hear me now? Hi, we're working more closely to evaluate our task force on homelessness to be more effective for the current climate, to make it so we build stronger relationships with our partners, with our service providers, and on a regional level, because our county is as you have here, the cost of housing is quite high, and the lack of affordable housing is an issue, and also because homeless is a very complex issue. Each individual is so different and so unique.
I didn't mean to cut that. I got to tell you, I got to thank Simi Valley for allowing Sergeant George to come out here. They actually gave him permission to come and do this. I was on the phone with Sergeant George. Most officers I talked to, they kind of rush off the phone within 5-10 minutes. I think I spent 40 minutes on the subject of Sergeant George, so thank you. We were talking about the Valley Alliance Neighborhood Councils, also known as VANC. I would like all of the neighborhood councils that are here and their boards to please stand up at the moment. So what I'd like to do now is have each of the panelists tell us who you are, your name, and we try to have names on here, and tell us what your title is. We're going to take questions at the end, and if you have a question, please put your name down on a card, an index card. Just raise your hand. State who you want to give the question to, your name, and your question. We're going to go through the various cards and put the similar questions together, so if we don't pick on you, somebody else might be asking that question.
Good evening, I'm Betty Esky. I'm the director at the Samaritan Center in Simi Valley. I became the director in 2006. So the first 2 years, my family basically didn't see me at all. Because at that time we were in the middle of transitioning to case management instead of just a soup kitchen. So I've got lots of information. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Hello, my name is Ashley O with the County Chief Executive Office Homeless Initiative. Here to share our homeless initiative efforts since August of 2015, including answering some questions you might have with Measure Age that was just passed in March, but primarily to address any questions and answers and really to listen To see where your interest lies.
So you don't have to buy
also
dinner,
discuss
right?
alternatives where we can really partner together.
Nandita O'Neill from the City Attorney's Office. I am the new director for the strategies and homeless policies for the City Attorney's Office. It's a new position. It's both in criminal and in civil. I was a prosecutor. I ran the neighborhood prosecutor program for 10 years or so I'm familiar with a lot of different aspects. Homeless is our #1 residential complaint across the entire city, from Sam Theater all the way to this corner up here. So it's really difficult for a lot of people, and we're working together with a lot of different city agencies to try and address it and make it a little bit easier for all parties involved.
I am Wade Trimmer with the San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission. We have a 90-bed family success center a couple miles away from here. Essentially, it's what was formerly known as a shelter. We work with families. There are about 35 families who call that their home right now. About 85% of our folks will move out with keys to their own apartment, thanks to some partnerships that we have, both private and folks like LA Family Housing, John Morris, who about 90% will leave with a job, with a full-time job. Our children in the shelter, about 60% of our guests are children who are school age. They'll go up at least 2 letter grade older with us. We really created a robust program. And we also do have what was the city's only mobile shower program for chronically homeless individuals. We're really glad to hear that others have lined up, and I think the new one just started in downtown. But that provides more than just a shower. It's really providing that sense of dignity to people. And I think there are 2 ways to look at that. One is that we're making people more comfortable in their lifestyle. I haven't really seen that. We're providing the same things that you have when you turn on your shower in the morning. You get to be clean. You get to feel human, and we think everybody deserves that. So we do that, and we also have a program called Clean Streets, Clean Starts. That's a new program. It's an employment program, an employment training program for individuals who experience homelessness.
Thanks, Wade. Hey, Mike, do you want me to take a few minutes now if I'm going to make a few announcements and talk about our agenda rather than just a quick introduction? No, time to do that? Thanks very much. Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Taylor. I'm Mayor Eric Garcetti's West San Fernando Valley area representative, former neighborhood council member. The day I took this job, going on a couple of years ago, was the day I stepped down from my position as a neighborhood council in Reseda. I probably would have been in this room on your side doing the same thing had I been in that position still. So I'm fortunate to be here doing this. Just a handful of things on behalf of the mayor, on behalf of the city. I want to say thanks to everyone here, everyone that's a voter who voted yes on Measure H, who voted yes on Measure HHH, and now that we have those resources and those abilities to move forward with so much that we need, Measure H on our ability to move forward with bringing resources to our chronically homeless and permanent supportive housing facilities, as well as all of the services that we're going to bring to really look to not just address homelessness, but as the mayor says, to end homelessness. And Measure HHH to be able to build and to create a sense of what we like to say, a community attitude. Yes, in my backyard. Yes, we want more permanent supportive housing. Yes, we want to work together with every neighborhood in Los Angeles to find an opportunity to see that the people that are already our neighbors, that are already in our neighborhoods, have a more sustainable living situation, and we as a community can coexist with a more sustainable living situation for everyone. A few things happening now. Coming up in a couple weeks, we're going to have our 3rd installment of the year of a collaborative effort called Homeless Connect Days, where we work in tandem with our county officials, with LA Family Housing at the lead. We have Sasha Morozov is here as one of the coordinators of our strategy to make Homeless Connect Days more regular and better scheduled. So the 3rd Thursday of every month, we're now doing Homeless Connect Days in a different community in the San Fernando Valley specifically. In those days, basically, what we do is we bring out resource providers from housing to veteran services, mental health services, pretty much everything you can come up with that would be something that creates a barrier for somebody that's experiencing homelessness to end that experience and for us to move them into housing and move their journey forward. So that has been a really successful opportunity so far. We're getting more and more people connected to what's known as the coordinated entry system. Imagine a lot of people in this room know about that. The thing about the coordinated entry system is it's sort of a significant symbol of the amount of coordination happening between different governments right now, between the city, the county, and even sort of shows the impact of the state and federal government, and even at the local level with our neighborhood councils, of how we're all working together to try to bring services in a more strategic and coordinated way to all of the people that are experiencing homelessness right now. So the coordinated entry system is a major part of that, and so the level of coordination is a really exciting thing happening, and with the resources we've got from these new ballot measures and from the political climate in general, saying that this is something as a people, as a community, as a city and a county, we're really going to take this on and look to end it. A couple other things I want to mention. We do have, for the neighborhood council, homeless liaisons is really guided towards you. The Civic University that we have coming up, I hope that most of you have already heard about it, got emails from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. That's going to be an opportunity to go through, I think it's 3 different weeks. It starts in April. It's going to be downtown at the Ron Deaton room, which is at LAPD headquarters. You're going to learn about homelessness and advocacy, and it's sort of about learning about the levels of government, how to work on it, and you come out and you get a certificate in the end, and you have a lot more expertise and can be a leader in your community. So we can really use this incredible impact of a room full of people that want to be leaders in their community. We're really going to give you all of the tools and resources that we can. Another thing you're going to be seeing coming up in a couple of months, the mayor has asked us to really cultivate more of a conversation on how we think about, Sergeant Shorts mentioned some of the sort of misrepresentations and mythology around homelessness, about how all the different ways that people experience it, about how it happens, how the homelessness starts, how long they're dealing with it. So those things we're going to talk about in our faith communities, and we're asking for faith leaders across the city to participate in what we're calling Mayor's Days of Compassion. That's going to be a 10-day period in June of where we're going to ask people to do a number of different things. They can choose to just preach from the pulpit, or they can get their congregations involved in community events. There are going to be a lot of ways where we're going to really look at a bigger strategy to engage as many people to really try to take homelessness on and end it once and for all. So I do want to just really say thank you to everybody that decided to come here tonight to be a part of the solution. We've seen that in the overwhelming numbers that are voting now, to say that this is our collective, our collective responsibility to look at ending homelessness. So thank you for being those people, for showing up tonight. Looking forward to taking questions later.
Thank you for 5 minutes. I'm going to breeze through. Thank you. Again, Ashley O with the County Homeless Initiative. I just wanted to provide some context and also to bring you up to speed on where we're at and our potential next steps. As you may be aware, in January of 2017, there was a countywide homeless camp that took place, and those results will be released sometime in May or June by LASA, Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. But I did take a quick look at Service Planning Area 2, and that's the San Fernando Valley area. And in 2013, there was approximately 4,836 homeless people were counted in San Fernando Valley SPA, which represented 14% of the homelessness in LA County. In 2015, there was an 8% increase of homeless population in SPA 2, which brought us up to 5,216 homeless people. In 2016, a year ago, there was an increase of 36% of homeless people in San Fernando Valley, which brings us up to 7,094 people. What was even more compelling was that there was an increase of 48% of the homeless people who are unsheltered. And these are the people who are living in the encampments, in their cars. So these are the people who are very conspicuous in terms of who you may be seeing in our community. And I think lastly, in terms of data, what I wanted to share with you is that most of the adults living in homelessness about over 70% of the adults have been LA County residents for over 20 years. So these aren't people who've come up here out of the blue. These are people who've been living with us for multi-decades. So in response to the homeless crisis, the Board of Supervisors launched the Homeless Initiative in August of 2015. And the goal was to collaboratively develop a coordinated set of strategies to combat homelessness. As Sergeant Shorts indicated, homelessness is a very complicated problem which requires multi-pronged strategies. And it's a long-term investment, like what you mentioned. And I think you provide a really great feedback. In 2015, the LA County hosted 18 policy summits with the cities, the community-based organizations, homeless coalitions, as you guys, including people who personally experience homelessness, to develop a set of strategies. And we had 6 categories to combat homelessness. One was, of course, preventing homelessness, which is as important to prevent instead of just only focusing on helping people exit homelessness, as well as subsidized housing, and of course increased income, because great majority of the adult homeless people have the desire and capability to work. So it's to really help them with the right training and opportunities so that they can achieve self-sufficiency. And of course to provide case management services, which is critical for them to not only secure housing, but also to retain housing as well. And of course to create a coordinated system so that there's really no wrong door to accessing services. And lastly, increasing affordable homeless services. Another data I'd like to share with you is that in January 2016, there was a homeless housing and services gap. In LA County, in order to address homelessness, we would need over 15,000 permanent supportive housing. And these are long-term housing units which provides intensive case management services. And then we would need over 8,000 rapid rehousing, and these are more short-term, 6 months, housing with less, case management services. We would need over 2,000 emergency shelters in the county, as well as over 2,500 homeless prevention services. And that translates to $450 million a year to be able to address that, and that does not include any capital costs. And the board unanimously approved these 47 homeless initiative strategies in February of 2016, and it made a one-time $100 million one-time investment. And fast forward, since time is up, so I think the last thing I'll tell you about Measure Age is that during the first 5 years, the goal is to help 45,000 homeless people to exit homelessness, 30,000 people to avert homelessness, and this will be legally dedicated to combat homelessness, which will include Citizens Oversight Advisory Board as well as auditor to make sure that we are held accountable and we demonstrate fiscal stewardship of these services. And what's really critical is just what Kevin said. These are services that will readily be available starting July of this year, because sometimes capital projects could take 5, 7, 10 years to go build. But our goal is to provide these services to provide immediate care at the same time to complement these incoming capital projects that will really support the brick and mortar initiatives as well. So with that, since my 5 minutes is up, I'd like to pass it on. You're welcome.
I'm from the city, so I wouldn't expand on what she's saying. I'm happy to talk about what our office is doing for. Wait till you guys all have questions, whatever you feel. Whoever's.
Betty, did you want to expand?
I think there's, if they have questions, I can take the questions. I mean, yeah, the other time, yes.
Well, we're going to be here all night, right? I mean, think of it this way. You go to a movie for 2 hours and you sit through it. This is far more important than a movie, right? We actually have a pitch hitter coming in. And Meg, if you'd like to join us.
Hi, I'll just introduce myself really quickly. My name is Meg Barclay. I'm the city homeless coordinator. My position was created when the city and, or the mayor and the council adopted the city homeless, or comprehensive homeless strategy on the same day that the county homeless initiative was adopted by the board of supervisors. Similarly, it's a set of 64 coordinated strategies also designed to work together to address homelessness in the city of LA specifically. A lot of the strategies though are shared with the county, recognizing that we can't, either of us, do this by ourselves. There is a role that the city, that the city plays in this very specifically and rightfully so, and that complements the work that the county is doing. I could provide a little more information on specifically Prop HHH. Just very quickly, the 2 oversight committees that were created by that measure have approved funding recommendations for the first issuance of bonds this summer, up to a little more, I think at this point, somewhere in the $75 million range for 8 housing projects, and totaling somewhere around 500 or 600 units, 400 of which are permanent supportive housing, and 5 facilities operated by non-city sponsors and 1 city project. So those are facilities that provide services to the homeless, but they're non-housing. So a couple of health clinics, things like that. But I can provide more, I imagine that will come up in the questions, and I'll just go ahead. So thanks for letting me introduce myself.
Well, thank you. Just even at this point, let's give our speakers a round of applause. Were there any more cards that maybe you can pass it down? Maybe I can get somebody to collate the questions. And while we're doing that, let me share something.
Whoever wants a card, here it is.
Let me share something in the intermission here. You know, I am glad to see all of you here. I almost didn't make it here. Well, I was going to be late. I was actually at the gym and I was working out, and I got lost in time. And you know, I got to tell you, I've been working out for the last 6 months to lose weight, and so far the only thing I've lost is $300. So that was my accumulating cards joke. But actually, the first card I received was this is why I did this, to ask the first question. And I got a card about the same thing. Can you tell us what neighborhood councils can do at the grassroots level to be involved in this? Is there any anticipation as to perhaps we can give out vouchers or something to be able to do this at our level? Does anybody want to feel that?
Would you like a card?
You know, I'll start. You know, we talked a little bit about this in the city. One thing I don't know that I would say is when these different various housing options come before your neighborhood councils, really think about the fact they have to be sited somewhere. We have, your stats were astonishingly 23,000 homeless people in the city. And if the goal is to house them, they really need to go in the city, and so that means where all of you live. Hopefully they cannot, they can be sited in a place that is less impactful with traffic, with all that, but that's one thing at the neighborhood council level that if you really want to look to, you could look to that. I know it can be difficult, and if you want to talk to that more, but that's one thing in the neighborhood council. And make sure you keep coming and staying engaged and giving us your opinion. My boss, Mike Fear, attends town halls, hosts them a lot, trying to get everybody's feedback on what different opinions about the city. So that's really important as well.
I'm just glad you mentioned that. That's exactly what I was going to say, is that we have to realize where we're at. And that's when we're dealing with tens of thousands of people who don't have a bed to sleep in at night. And we push back on development and say, well, don't build here. And everyone's saying that. We just contribute to the problem. And one way that we can stop contributing to that is to look at, number one, people suddenly stop becoming homeless when they have a home. And then we have to look at our own paradigms, and since I'm not with the city, I get to say harder things probably. But we have to look at who we think the homeless are, and some of us don't want them in our neighborhood. The truth is that a lot of these folks grew up in the neighborhood. And the bottom line is that some of us were born with a headwind, and some of us were born with a tailwind. And sometimes that headwind is mental health issues, sometimes it's the family of origin, or it's our own choices, but finding somebody who hasn't made a poor choice in life, I haven't found anyone yet. So all I'm saying is the people that we work with, the people that you see out on the streets, may have gone to school with your kids, may have been in preschool with your kids. These are all stories that we hear over and over again. May have graduated from CSUN. I can give you a handful of those folks. They're people who are Angelinos. They're people who are Valley people. They're our residents, and we need to bring them back home.
Might even be one of our councilmen.
Indeed.
Always in awe of the way that Wade characterized it. I've learned a lot from Wade over the last couple of years, and I encourage everybody to really check out what's happening at the San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission and what they bring to our community there. It's a fantastic example of some ways that we're moving forward, and it's that notion of narrative about the way we think and speak about homelessness and about people and about our communities and the things that we do to dispel some of the mythology and the rumors. The real specific things that you guys can help do is do the research and do the reading. There's the plans that the city and the county passed that are really thick, long documents that have a lot of information. We heard about 47 strategies that the Board of Supervisors unanimously passed. So there's 47 strategies to read about what it's going to take for us to end homelessness in Los Angeles County. And the city has an equally meaty policy document that I really encourage you guys to take the time to read, learn about where the resources that you're voting for are going. Most people that are already engaged in this topic already know that in the last city budget, from the 2016-17 fiscal year budget, the mayor proposed and it was passed that we go from what was previously about $18 million dedicated towards homelessness to $138 million dedicated towards ending homelessness the next year. So we're at every level putting a lot more resources into it. So to know exactly how that's being spent, what that means community by community, that's a way that you can really be a really constructive resource, is to know a lot about that, be able to answer those questions when you see them online, when you see them on nextdoor.com, when you see them on your neighborhood council's Facebook page. You know, any way that you can enter into those conversations and bring a little bit more clarity and information and direction to the resources would really help us move forward a lot more quickly.
From the county's homeless initiative, I think there are several ways our councils could be involved. As you may have heard, the county has launched an inclusive and collaborative revenue planning process in preparation for Measure H revenue, which will start being collected on July 1st. We held our first meeting on March 23rd. It was a public meeting and everyone's welcome. And it was on the state of the homeless initiative as well as the strategies that work. And there will be 3 other meetings that will take place, which I believe the council should really be involved in terms of not only listening to what's going on, but also to provide feedback, which is going to be really critical. And those meetings will take place on April 6th, April 20th, and May 10th. And I'm more than happy to share those dates and times and locations with your co-chairs. And on top of that, on April 25th, to make sure that everyone who's not able to attend those meetings, we're also going to hold a countywide web meeting as well to get people's feedback on these potential funding developments and requests that are being developed, and that will be recommended for the Board of Supervisors in mid-June. And right now, the Revenue Planning Committee consists of 50 stakeholders from the county departments, as well as the cities, and the homeless service providers, as well as faith-based agencies, technical advisors, and councils on government. So we're really trying to make it very open and very transparent. So definitely if you could be involved in that and provide your feedback, I think that'll be really important. Secondly, there will be several key factors that's going to influence how the funding gets allocated. And one of those key factors will be the homeless counts in each service planning area. And again, San Fernando Valley is some spot too. So it'll be very important once those funding allocations made, if you guys could also work with the local providers here in this neighborhood to make sure that those funds are utilized to be able to meet these local needs and best leverage existing resources, that'll be really critical. Because for example, SPA 4 in Metro LA, their needs and opportunities and players are very different than SPA 2 here in San Fernando Valley. Secondly, legislative advocacy is going to be the game changer. Whether you're doing advocacy at the city level, at the county level, at the state level, or at the federal level, we're really going to need your partnership and to really be the voice of our homeless efforts collectively to really be heard. And then thirdly, there are some key events that's coming down the pipeline as well, as Kevin mentioned. It appears that mayors will be hosting a series of efforts targeting the faith-based agencies. County will be hosting a faith-based summit in June, targeting our faith leaders because our faith institutions do so much for the homeless population. We're here to build relationships at the same time, how we align faith agencies' efforts with the mainstream efforts, again, to be able to maximize our collective investments as well. So I think those are just some of the examples where we really need your expertise, advocacy, and your time.
You have heard some really great ideas and messages from your representatives here, and I couldn't say anything more than what you guys have said. This is exciting. Hearing what Kevin had to say about all of the information, everything that's happening in LA County, it makes me want to, I'd love to have some of that in Simi Valley. But because I direct a private nonprofit, 501c3, it's a whole lot different than having the city backing you. So this is a really good opportunity for you to make a difference one life at a time.
Yeah, and just really quickly, I think that I would totally agree with my county or my city colleagues on this panel about siting is the biggest challenge for the city right now. I think that when you look at, if I had to boil down the difference between the city and the county strategies, I would say the city's strategies are focused, and the way that we are working really hard to solve this problem is with capital, with siting and providing capital to build new permanent supportive housing units that will remain affordable and supportive for 55 years, and facilities that can provide services and that human dignity in the meantime. But we are having a challenge, and we can see it, looking forward, we are really concerned about the way that siting can end up slowing projects down and really slowing down getting the money that you hopefully all voted for out into the community and making the change that we all want to see. So I would definitely, the city is focusing on capital and actually citing hard units and hard projects, and the county is coming in with the services to help us operate those things. So I would just underline that with what my city colleagues said.
You guys don't hear me? Everyone can hear it? So just lastly, for the homeless liaisons from the neighborhood councils or the committee chairs, some of it is a little bit unknown so far. What is the next thing that you're going to be able to do? What's going to happen in your neighborhood? So the thing you can be doing right now is building up your committees, hosting events, hosting conversations that are worthwhile and meaningful, fostering the conversations, so when that thing comes to your neighborhood that you can engage in, when the city asks you to weigh in, when we're looking for leadership and we're looking for people to connect with, that you have this built-up committee, you have people engaged in the conversation already, and you're ready to organize. If you guys can be doing that work, regardless of how substantive the things might be on your agenda that night, let's really have a good conversation, build up the capacity to be able to do this work, because we're going to be doing this for years together, and we have a lot of resources to do it with now. So let's keep having the opportunity to work together by having good, strong committees.
I'm so glad you said that. I actually, about a month and a half ago, put a site together, VANC, on homelessness. And that's a site that we can all share information. Could you repeat it? Network, and put the various resources and whatnot together. Neighborhood councils we're going to work at the grassroots level because nobody knows our community like we do. So we got to get everyone.
What was the
Can you
website?
repeat it? The website, please.
Yeah, the website.
VANC
V is in Victor, A is in Apple, Nancy,
Charlie.
Council. Just kidding. I used to be a mom. The next question.
So they have a website?
For the mayor's office.
Back to the website, yeah.
Valley of Neighborhood Councils, VANC, on homelessness. And I'm sure VANC's gonna make me change the name in the future, but
VANC is in the website, VANC.com.
no, VANC on homelessness.
.com?
It's a Facebook page. Yeah, sorry about that. So you guys are not mind readers, okay?
That's a MySpace.
I'm gonna pass on. I do have a question for the mayor's office, Kevin. What is the crisis response team going to do about assisting with regards to motel vouchers and also maybe bus tokens? And if so, when will that take into effect? And
So I can't really answer a lot of details on some of those questions, maybe some of the colleagues here will, but I can tell you that the crisis response team, if you don't already know about this team and what they're doing, it's an incredible resource that the city has that goes under-celebrated. It's people that volunteer to learn how to be responders when people are experiencing trauma, when there's a violent act that happens in one of our communities, or when there's a traffic accident. These are volunteers that have been trained to go and provide an ear and comfort and whatever they need to do to provide an opportunity for people to have someone to lean on during crises. And so the CRT, the Mayor's Crisis Response Team, has been something I've learned more and more, but a little bit at a time, because you don't hear a lot about it. They're not celebrated. They're just out there doing this incredibly difficult work, getting called at 4 a.m. that there's been an accident, and they're out there and they're doing the work to help. So I really encourage you to learn more about it. If it's something that interests you, it's always an opportunity for another volunteer opportunity if that interests you as well. So I don't really know how they would connect to this effort. The Homeless Connect Days is a day where we do things like provide some of those resources like bus tokens, and we partner with Metro, and we partner with Housing Resources. And as far as the ongoing opportunities to deliver those things, I'm not really sure that there is a strategy on that. I don't know if anybody wants to.
Talking about the vouchers, we work a lot with LAPD and the HOPE team. Hopefully most of you have seen them or reached out to them. Through LAPD downtown, there are certain vouchers that are given out when the officers call at night. They're limited, and not a lot of the motels or locations are accepting anything in the valley. So when you have homeless people here, usually what they're offered is hotels and locations in South LA, and a lot of people don't want to go. So I think trying to expand that would be something to do. Our office is hosting a motel conversion meeting in April downtown for motel owners who are interested in learning different ways to convert their current business models, with different business model, perhaps accepting more Section 8 vouchers, reconfiguring their motels into the kinds of units that could take more money and have more people living there permanently. So that's something they're also Oh, sorry. No one from LAPD is here. So the HOPE team is a partnership with the mayor's office, the city attorney's office, LASA, which is the county city group that does the homeless outreach, and LAPD. We have 10 officers for Valley Bureau here and 1 sergeant, and that's true with every other bureau in the city. So you have 10 officers here and 1 sergeant, and they're paired with a sanitation team, 2 or 3 watershed officers, I believe now they have a bigger truck than they used to, a truck, and the HOPE team is supposed to be going after ADA violations when sidewalks are blocked, immediate kind of emergencies during the week that the citizens are complaining about. I think in the valley they're trying to hit a few locations so that the encampments that are there will kind of reach out and get services.
LASHA does the outreach first along with LAPD, and they've outreached to numerous amounts of people here. They also were, along with West Valley Division, assisted in the Sepulveda Basin, clean out that they had from when the sanitation had to go in and clean out the basin there because of the flooding. So they worked really closely on this homeless issue.
When is this hotel conversion?
When is it? It is April 7th downtown. And I can, there should be a flyer on our website, which is I think LACity. If you Google the city attorney's office, it'll come up.
Let me add one more thing. So on the vouchers, this is another opportunity for homeless liaisons. Hosting an event that invites landlords, local hotel and motel owners, and talking to them about the vouchers that are available, the opportunities there are to house people, and how they can actually be a benefit to landlords as well. So helping people get that information, maybe bringing in more panelists again, be able to answer some of the detailed policy questions about that. That's another opportunity. There's often unclaimed vouchers because there's not a match for the rooms that are available for veterans that are experiencing homelessness. So anything that you can do to do outreach to landlords, and we know as neighbor councils, as planning and land use committees, that we're talking to a lot of people that are doing development and consultants, and so that's kind of a direct line to the right people that we need to be talking to make sure they're aware of the resources that are available to them when they have vacancies.
Thank you. Before we get everybody's business cards, thank you. Also, if you can, you're invited to post things on that same Facebook site so that we can get some other outreach in case other people don't remember your city email. Anyway, I'm going to turn this over to Gabe, who has had the opportunity, he's our president, he's had the opportunity to peruse the questions, and I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
I've got 3 questions for Level City.